October 14th, 1943, 10:15 a.m. 26,000 feet above the German border. The temperature outside the plexiglass nose of the B-17 is 60 degrees below zero. At this altitude, the air is so thin that if your oxygen hose disconnects, you will pass out in 30 seconds and be dead in 3 minutes. Inside the fuselage, the noise is a physical assault. 4 Wright Cyclone engines are hammering at full power, creating a vibration that rattles your teeth and blurs your vision. The wind screams through the open waist gunner windows, carrying with it a lethal chill that freezes sweat instantly inside your electrically heated flight suit. You are part of Mission 115, the raid on the ball-bearing factories of Schweinfurt. To the generals in England, this is a strategic necessity. To the 10 men inside this aluminum tube, it is a death sentence. Looking out the port window, you see the formation. It is a majestic, terrifying sight. 300 B-17 flying fortresses arranged in a tight combat box. They are stepped up and down in altitude, creating a dense wall of .50 caliber machine guns designed to cover every possible angle of attack. It looks invincible. It looks like a floating fortress of steel and fire. But the men of the mighty 8th Air Force know the truth. The fortress has a flaw. At 10:30 a.m., a crackle comes over the intercom. It is the voice of the pilot, thin and tinny inside your headset. Little friends are turning back. You watch as the P-47 Thunderbolts, the rugged American fighter escorts, dip their wings and peel away toward England. They have reached the limit of their fuel range. They can go no further. For the next 3 hours, you are alone, and the Luftwaffe knows it. Almost instantly, the sky ahead begins to speckle with black dots. They aren't birds. They are Messerschmitt 109s and Focke-Wulf 190s, swarming up from the airfields of Western Europe like angry hornets. They don't attack from the rear anymore. They have learned the B-17's blind spot. They swing around to the front. Bandits, 12 o'clock high, coming in level. The nose gunner screams the warning. You grip the spade handles of your Browning M2. Your heart hammers against your ribs. In the distance, the German fighters line up side by side, wingtip to wingtip. They aren't dogfighting, they are executing a firing squad. They push their throttles forward, closing the distance at a combined speed of 600 miles per hour. The leading edge of the German wings lights up. 20mm cannons and machine guns pump rounds into the American formation. The B-17 shudders. The sound of bullets striking the aluminum skin sounds like someone throwing a handful of gravel against a tin shed. But then comes the deeper, sickening thud of a cannon shell. To your right, the B-17 named Tech Supply takes a direct hit between the number 3 and 4 engines. There is no explosion, just a sudden, violent eruption of fire. The wing folds upward like wet cardboard. The massive bomber rolls over on its back and begins to spiral down into the cloud deck. You count the parachutes. 1, 2. 10 men were on that plane. Only 2 got out. There is no time to mourn. The German fighters break off, diving beneath the formation, only to loop around and do it again. The floor of your B-17 is slick with hydraulic fluid and spent shell casings. The air smells of cordite and terror. This is the reality of the 8th Air Force in 1943. There are no foxholes in the sky. There is no cover. You cannot retreat. You have to sit in your seat, fly straight and level into the flak, and pray that the next piece of jagged steel has someone else's name on it. But as the formation pushes deeper into the Reich, a new horror appears on the horizon. The flak bursts are getting thicker, creating a black carpet of smoke that you have to fly directly through. And the pilot realizes that the German fighters were just the opening act. 12:55 p.m. The initial point, IP, approaching Schweinfurt. The German fighters suddenly peel away. For a brief, hopeful second, the silence returns,
broken only by the drone of the engines. But the veteran crews know better. The fighters aren't leaving because they are scared. They are leaving because they don't want to be hit by their own artillery. Ahead lies the target, Schweinfurt, the industrial heart of the Nazi war machine. But between the B-17's and the ball-bearing factories sits a dense concentration of anti-aircraft batteries, over 300 heavy 88mm and 105mm flak guns. The sky ahead turns black. It doesn't look like clouds. It looks like a paved road of smoke suspended in the air. The pilot's voice comes over the interphone, tight and strained. IP reached. Turning on the AFCE. Bombardier, she's yours. This is the most terrifying moment of the mission. The pilot engages the automatic flight control equipment, the autopilot. Control of the aircraft is handed over to the bombardier in the nose, hunched over the secret Norden Bombsight. For the next 6 minutes, the plane must fly absolutely straight and level. No evasive action, no weaving. You are a sitting duck moving at 160 miles per hour. Below, the German gunners in the flak pits are feeding shells into the breaches with rhythmic precision. They calculate the altitude, the speed, the heading. They fire. Whump, whump, whump. Flak doesn't sound like a gun. It sounds like a giant coughing right next to your ear. The plane lurches violently. Jagged shards of hot steel tear through the fuselage. It sounds like hail on a tin roof. A sharp clatter, ping, rip as shrapnel slices through hydraulic lines, oxygen bottles, and human flesh. In the waist section, a piece of flak the size of a fist punches through the aluminum skin. It misses the gunner by inches but severs the control cables to the rudder. The B-17 shudders, yawing to the left. The pilot fights the yoke, muscles straining, sweat pouring into his eyes, trying to keep the heavy bomber in formation. If you fall out of the combat box now, the flak will pick you apart individually. You look out the window. The B-17 off your left wing, named Lazy Baby, takes a direct hit in the bomb bay. There is no time to bail out. The plane simply disintegrates. One moment it is a 30-ton machine of war, the next it is a cloud of debris and pink mist. 10 men, gone, just like that. But the formation flies on. They fly through the smoke of their friends' vaporized aircraft. In the nose, the bombardier ignores the carnage. He is looking through the optics, lining up the crosshairs on the sprawling factory complex below. His world has shrunk to a series of dials and bubbles. He is calculating wind drift, ground speed, and ballistics. Steady, steady. The bomb bay doors groan open. The drag slows the plane, making it shudder even more. Bombs away. The aircraft suddenly leaps upward, relieved of 5,000 pounds of high explosives. You watch the sticks of bombs falling away, tumbling end over end, shrinking into tiny specks. Seconds later, the ground below erupts. Flashes of orange light are swallowed by billowing clouds of dust and smoke. The factories are burning. The mission is accomplished. Turn, let's get the hell out of here. The formation banks hard to the right, eager to escape the flak belt. The engines are throttled up, the crews breathe a collective sigh. They have survived the run. They have dropped their loads. They are turning west, toward England, toward hot coffee, whiskey, and a warm bed. But as the smoke of Schweinfurt fades behind them, the navigator checks his chart. He looks at the fuel gauges. He looks at the chronometer. A cold realization settles in the pit of his stomach. They are deep inside Germany. They have to fly back across the entire continent of Europe. The German fighter squadrons they fought on the way in have landed. They have refueled, they have rearmed, and they are waiting for the return trip. The B-17's are battered. Some are flying on 3 engines. Some are leaking fuel. Ammunition is running low. The oxygen systems are damaged. The flight to the target was a battle, but the flight home is going to be a massacre. The mighty 8th is about to bleed like never before. 2:15 p.m. Somewhere over Belgium. The adrenaline has faded, replaced by a dull, aching exhaustion. The B-17 is a wreck. The number 2 engine is dead, its propeller feathered, blades turned edgewise to the wind to reduce drag. The aluminum skin is riddled with hundreds of holes, whistling like a flute in the slipstream.
And now, the Luftwaffe returns. They have refueled, they have rearmed, and they have smelled blood. This time, the German tactics change. They see the stragglers, the damaged B-17's that can't keep up with the formation. In nature, wolves separate the weak from the herd. In the sky over Europe, Focke-Wulf 190s do the same. You watch helplessly as a B-17 below you, trailing smoke, is swarmed by 5 German fighters. They slosh at it from all angles. The bomber's guns fall silent one by one. It enters a slow, majestic glide, looking deceptively peaceful until the right wing root snaps, sending the fuselage tumbling into a flat spin. There are no parachutes this time. The G-forces trap the men inside against the walls of the spinning ship. Inside your own plane, the war has become a medical emergency. The waist gunner has been hit in the leg by a 20mm fragment. At 25,000 feet, the blood doesn't pool, it freezes. It forms a red slush on the floor. You try to administer plasma, but the tubes are frozen solid. You try to stick a morphine syringe into his arm, but the cold has made his skin as hard as leather, and your own fingers are numb, clumsy blocks of ice. You wrap him in an electric blanket, but the electrical system is shorting out. He looks at you, eyes wide with shock, lips turning blue. You scream into the interphone for the pilot to drop to a lower altitude where the air is warmer, but the pilot refuses. To drop altitude is to slow down. To slow down is to die. The German fighters are now using a new weapon, air-to-air rockets. From 1,000 yards away, out of range of your 50 calibers, the twin-engined Me-110s launch massive rockets into the formation. They look like mortars fired horizontally. They streak through the air, trailing gray smoke. One strikes a B-17 in the lead group. The bomber simply vanishes. It doesn't fall. It evaporates in a blinding flash of high explosives and aviation fuel. 1 second, there are 10 men and a 30-ton plane. The next, there is only a cloud of sparkling debris falling through the stratus. The carnage is absolute. Black Thursday, they will call it. Of the 291 B-17's that flew into Germany this morning, 60 have been shot down. Another 17 are so badly damaged they will never fly again. Over 600 Americans are dead or missing. It is a casualty rate of nearly 20%. In any other branch of the military, a unit that suffers 20% casualties is considered combat ineffective. It is pulled off the line. But the 8th Air Force is still in the air, limping toward the coast. On the flight deck, the pilot and co-pilot are wrestling the physical weight of the plane. With 2 engines out on the same side, the B-17 wants to flip over. They have their boots jammed against the rudder pedals, legs burning with lactic acid, fighting the torque. The fuel gauges are topping empty. The navigator does the math on a slide rule. He looks up, his face pale. "We're not going to make the coast," he says. "We're going to be short." The pilot makes the call. "Toss it. Everything that isn't bolted down." The crew goes into a frenzy. You rip the heavy machine guns off their mounts and throw them out the waist windows. You throw out the ammo boxes, the flak jackets, the radio equipment, even the Norden Bombsight, the top secret computer that is worth more than the plane itself, is unbolted and hurled into the English Channel. Every pound shed buys a few more yards of glide. Ahead, through the mist, you see a faint gray line, the white cliffs of Dover. It is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. But the engines are coughing, the fuel pressure lights are flickering red. The B-17 is coming in low, skimming the waves, too damaged to make the runway.
3:45 p.m. RAF Manston, Emergency Landing Field, England. The coast of England passes beneath the wings, but there is no celebration. The number 4 engine coughs once, spits a puff of black smoke, and dies. The fuel is gone. The pilot fights the yoke, trading airspeed for altitude, trying to stretch the glide to the emergency strip at Manston. This airfield was built specifically for cripples. It has an extra wide runway for planes that can't steer and can't stop. But you aren't going to make the concrete. Brace for impact. The alarm bell rings, a sharp, shrill sound that cuts through the fear. In the waist, you huddle against the bulkhead, wrapping your arms around your knees, sandwiching the wounded gunner between you and the radio operator to cushion him. The B-17 is no longer flying, it is falling. The ground rushes up, trees, hedgerows, and cows flash by at 100 miles per hour. The pilot pulls back on the stick, flaring the massive bomber just feet above a farmer's field. The belly of the plane hits the grass. The sound is ungodly. The screech of tearing metal, the snapping of aluminum ribs, the roar of earth being plowed by 30 tons of dead weight. The plane skids for what feels like a mile, shaking violently, throwing you against the walls. Dirt and grass spray through the open bomb bay. Then, silence. It is a silence so profound it hurts your ears. The engines are gone. The wind is gone. The machine guns are gone. There is only the ticking of cooling metal and the song of an English skylark in the distance. You scramble out through the waste door, falling onto the wet, green grass. You smell the earth. It smells of manure and rain. It is the best smell in the world. Emergency crews are already racing across the field in jeeps and meat wagons. They pull the wounded from the wreckage. They douse the engines with foam. You stand there, shivering uncontrollably as the adrenaline crash hits you. You light a cigarette with shaking hands. You look at the plane. It is a broken, twisted carcass. The nose is smashed. The tail is shredded. It looks like a colander. You count the holes. There are over 200. But it brought you home. Back at the base, the debriefing is somber. The intelligence officers hand out shots of whiskey, combat rations, to stop the shaking. They ask about the target. They ask about the fighters. You look at the empty bunks in the Nissen hut. The beds are perfectly made. Personal effects, photos of wives, letters from mothers sit on the nightstands. Tonight, a quartermaster will come in and quietly pack those things into cardboard boxes. Tomorrow, new men will arrive. They will sleep in those beds. They will fly those missions. Because the war isn't over. The target for tomorrow is already being typed up, and the mighty 8th has to go back up. The raid on Schweinfurt was a tactical success but a strategic disaster. The factories were hit, but the cost was unsustainable. The 8th Air Force lost air superiority that day. The generals realized that the B-17, mighty as it was, could not survive deep in Germany without help. The deep raids were suspended. For months, the bombers hit only targets along the coast, waiting. They were waiting for a savior, and in early 1944, it arrived, the P-51 Mustang. With the Mustang, the B-17s finally had a little friend that could go all the way to Berlin and back. The Luftwaffe was swept from the skies. The bombing campaign resumed with a ferocity that ground the Third Reich into dust. But the cost of that victory is etched in stone. If you visit the American cemeteries in Europe, you will see thousands of white crosses. The 8th Air Force suffered more fatal casualties in World War II than the entire United States Marine Corps. 26,000 airmen died. Another 28,000 became prisoners of war. They were mostly boys, 20 years old, volunteers. They flew in temperatures that froze their flesh, through flak that shredded their bodies, facing odds that mathematically guaranteed their death if they flew enough missions. Yet they climbed into the aluminum coffins day after day. The B-17 Flying Fortress is an icon of engineering. It was rugged, tough, and beautiful.
But the true strength of the Flying Fortress wasn't the steel spars or the Wright Cyclone engines. It was the 10 men inside. They were the mighty 8th, and they paved the road to victory, one bloody mile of sky at a time.